Nigga, go get your gap. Never hesitate, the ladies pigs on their back. I said rat-a-tat-tat. Nigga, go get your gap. Never hesitate, the ladies pigs on their back. I said rat-a-tat-tat. Nigga, go get your gap. Never hesitate to put these pigs on their back. I said rat-a-tat-tat. Nigga, go get your gap. Never hesitate, the ladies pigs on their back.
Don't feel you wrong. Don't feel you wrong. They got us locked in prison. They don't feel you wrong. What? They gotta let us go. What?
Go ahead.
Let us go. Got my brother on lockdown for 24 on life status. Y'all gotta let him out. We gotta get out and show him what we bout. What? Huh? I ain't no freestyle, but I'm talking about this shit and I ain't proud now. We got to raise up on their ass. Show them. What? Show them.
Rat-a-tat-tat. Nigga, go get that gap. Never hesitate, the ladies pigs on their back.
Up in the club, you see a real thug, and them hoes wanna come up and give me real big hugs, but I ain't no teddy bear. Cops, stop looking at me, cause I'm a picture camera, you can't catch me. I'm aiming at thee, I don't give a fuck me. It's
birthday after he was assassinated. Myself and a few of the other members of my junior high school football team staged a sit-in at our junior high school and shut it down for a little while. It was also the last day I attended public schools because I was expelled. And when they expelled me, I quit. Just so you know that I've been down with this for a long time. And I think that Sharif and I believe it was Sharif making a point that this is becoming a corporate kind of sponsored event, much like everything else, the People's Fair, a number of other things that had a strong community relationship in their essence, in their beginning, have now become just another vehicle to promote these corporations that have been taking away from the African American community, and really, if you ask me, from our nation for decades, centuries perhaps. I think that we need to get back to the roots of this thing.
But I'm gonna say, but
you know, in the Bible it says, "Blessed are the poor, for in their spirit is the kingdom of heaven." We don't need corporate sponsorship to have that spirit. We don't need corporate sponsors. Corporations are just trying to glom on to that spirit. They're trying to make a buck out of associating themselves with that spirit, and I think that it's wrong. I really do.
Well, let me ask. Well, let me just say, from an impartial point of view, if like Vern was saying, no, and I gotta say this, Sharif, like if the Murray was gonna fail and we couldn't do it, then should they not get some props for, just like we're saying that they take dollars from the African American community? Are they not putting some money into the African American community, or do you think that it's just an opportune moment for them to just get their names out there? Because if they're the reason why we can still have the Murray, which I grew up with in Denver as a child, then that's a question that needs to be answered.
Let me say this from an administrative standpoint. This year, our sponsorship dollars have dropped off drastically. For the first time ever, we are now allowing vendors into Civic Center at a charge, $150, because we don't have the corporate dollars to put it on. Now, understand something. I'm going to catch Cain from that. People's going to say, how come we're being charged finally? How come after all these years? The realistic piece of it is when you have an event of this magnitude, 30, 40, 50,000 people, we're going to have resources for the community. We're going to have people who've lost their jobs. We're going to have people there with health insurance and free clinics. People who have lost their homes. We're going to have foreclosure events there, booths there. I heard you mention that you're going to have a booth there. I don't have your application yet. You don't need to pay because you're one of our sponsors. However, the thing is, I still need this stuff. Now understand something. No matter how hard we try, and let me make this perfectly clear, from the very beginning, from the very first march, organized march, as a parade or as a commission, there's been corporate dollars. And the corporations have always been recognized. Look at some of the older programs. When we used to do a program at City Park, your corporate dollars were always in that program to let people know that there was corporations.
Let me ask you, Vern.
Hold on one second. Let me just say this real quick. Thanks for that call, Dick, and the other two callers. The other two callers that's waiting, we're going to get right after Terrence makes this point. We're going to get right to you.
Okay, I just want to ask you, Vern. Now, Colorado was 3% African American.
3%.
Now, how big? First, what is the average amount of people who come to the Parade, and how big is it in comparison to other cities that do Martin Luther King events?
35,000 is the average,
Okay.
and number one across the nation. Even in Atlanta, Dr. King's birthplace and burial place. They quit having a march for 3 years because we stomped theirs with our numbers. And here's the kicker.
If these corporations are so great that you talk about, why ain't they helping us? That's what I'm talking about.
Brother, I'm not talking about what they do anywhere else. I'm talking about what they do with the Parade. That and then again talking about the unity in the community and people coming out. I'm gonna tell you a secret. I talk to black people every day. And every year, and you want to know the recurring theme I hear, which is much different than yours? I have to work that day. I can't get that day off. Why can't you? It's the third Monday of the year. Do you not have vacation time? They don't come out by choice. KOA, or another radio station, I'm sorry, stuck a mic in my face one day and asked me, why is it that I think there's more white people at the Parade than black? I said very easily, when Colorado's 3% black. When the Front Range has enough black people to fill Mile High Stadium, you're going to be outnumbered by white people. And Dr. King spoke and had written over 2 million words, and in his words, people have found their causes that they've championed. I mean, the Ku Klux Klan used to, in Parker, put out a flyer with Dr. King's quotes on it, making people think it was a Martin Luther King event, and you got there and it was the Klan. And so my whole point is that we are a grassroots organization for 3 reasons. I'm holding up 2 fingers talking about 3. One is none of us are paid. Not one of us. We're all 100% volunteers. My entire commission are all volunteers. Every committee is 100% volunteers. Every nickel we raise goes into our scholarship programs, goes into the programs that come back into the community, and goes into, and mind you, we give $100,000 in scholarships away every year.
Well, let's get a caller.
And I applaud you for the good work that you do.
But that comes from corporate dollars.
But I applaud you for the good work that you do. And I'm not against all corporate money. I'm just saying we have to have corporate responsibility, and we have to demand this from these corporations. They're not going to, and that's the point that I was going to make. But Dr. Martin Luther King challenged Wonder Bread. He said, "You gonna wonder where the money went." He was talking about having boycotts against Wonder Bread and other corporations because of their treatment of African Americans, and you know.
And now Wonder Bread wonders to exist today. We heard yesterday they're going out. They're going under.
Okay, now let me
40 years later.
Let's get one of our callers in, and then after that, can you explain to us some of the activities that'll be taking place? Like tonight, we're having the award ceremony at the Betcher Concert Hall and the Free Symphony. But let's take our second caller, Sharif, and let's get him on the air.
Caller, you on the Tuesday edition of Metro. Are you there? Mark?
Sorry.
Are you there?
I'm here.
Yes, what's your
Good
name?
afternoon. Mark.
Do you have a question for Mr. Howard, Mark, or anything to say about the Parade that's coming up on the 19th?
Well, I can understand his position where he's squeezed financially, but I agree that there has to be some corporate responsibility, of course. And I ask a question, which Martin Luther King was the gentleman who's in charge of the Parade? Which Martin Luther King is he referring to? Is he referring to the one who's frozen in time, I Have a Dream, or is he referring to the Martin Luther King that existed right before he was taken from us so terribly? The one who was against the military-industrial congressional complex, who was speaking out against that very stridently, because I think that Martin Luther King would have felt a lot differently about somebody bringing those kind of signs to that parade back in 2003. I don't think the corporate sponsors have to say anything or do anything if the people in charge of the parade are doing all that for them. If they're acting as the filter what is allowed and what is not allowed as far as free speech goes.
Mark, I like the question. This is Vern Howard of the Holiday Commission, and you're absolutely right. And to answer your question, I'm talking about both Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s. Because if you remember, in 1950, right, and the reason being is because he was against the Korean War as well.
How many Martin Luther Kings were there? I thought there was one.
Well, there is one, but you know what? As all of us, we all evolve.
Yeah.
And we all change, our opinions. We all change the way in which we do things. And you know what, Mark? I'm going to say this to you. I think Sharif would agree with this. And it is no coincidence that a year to the day from Dr. King delivering the Vietnam speech and to the hour he was assassinated. And see, what a lot of people don't know is that he had what was considered presidential protection. Lyndon Johnson said that as long as Dr. King was alive, nobody bet not do anything to him, or he will put the full force of the U.S. government behind an investigation. After Dr. King delivered that speech in New York City, they said Lyndon Johnson got so mad, he threw his hands up and said, "Hands off." And you cannot convince me, no one can, that it was a coincidence that he was assassinated 1 year to the day and to the hour later.
Mark, thanks for that phone call. We're going to move on and get Glenn on real quick because our second guest is waiting in the wings, and we're going to wrap up pretty soon. But it's been a great spirited discussion, man.
Yes,
Vern, Vern, you know I love you. I just want people to know that out there. I love Vern Howard. He's my brother, and even I've went to him for many times for advice on different things. I look at him as my big brother, but we keeps it real here.
We have to.
We got to. So Glenn, you're on the Tuesday edition of Metro.
Once again, I just want to reiterate with Sharif that I really appreciate everything you do in the community, but I am a little concerned about the comments that you don't want to alienate anybody with signs that may offend people who may have served in the military who are in the parade also, when, just like the previous caller said, if you think about the Riverside speech and you think about towards the end of Martin Luther King's life, he did what was right regardless whether it was popular or not, or whether it alienated him or not. And there's been times when, reverends within his own community would tell him that he needs to wait and not do these things because he may alienate people. That's where the letters from Birmingham jail came from.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And we're not talking about alienating. We're not talking about alienating State Farm. We're not talking about alienating the city of Denver. We're talking about comments that are insulting toward a individual. Here's a good example. I used this once before. Say, for example, someone in your family did something that was unpopular, but yet and still, the difference between a hero and a treasonous person, a traitor, is time. Dr. King was considered a rebel riser. They actually called him a communist. They called him they called him all kinds of horrible names.
A lot of black people who won't say it right now did not support him because they didn't want to have to fight and be called nigger and get this aggression towards them at his highest moments in his career. A lot of people don't know that. A lot of African Americans did not support Dr. King because they were afraid.
And let's go one better. The very first Martin Luther King event held in this nation honoring the life and legacy of Dr. King was held at the Jerusalem Embassy in New York by one of our commissioners' fathers. See, that's what a lot of people forget, that people were running from Dr. King instead of to him. And you ought to see the list of corporate sponsors he had.
Can I ask you a question
Yes, sir.
real quick?
Please
Because
do.
we're like really limited on time.
So
hey,
sorry.
Thanks for that call, Glenn. But we're going to move on.
Thank you, my friend. We appreciate you.
And thanks for that call again. Let me ask you something. With the current situation going on in the Middle East, what if somebody shows up with a sign that says Israel is murdering Palestinians, and you have Rabbi Foster up there, and it might offend him?
Again, we're not talking about armies. We're not talking about wars.
I'm just saying.
We're talking about
Can a person bring a sign that says that?
I have no problem with that. My problem comes is when it says Sharif is a SOB. I have a problem.
Who would carry a sign?
Because see, that's personal. All we're asking is that you don't bring signs that personally attack an individual. Bring all the signs you want that attack policy. That's what Dr. King was about.
Now,
bring every sign you want that attacks policy, including the city of Denver's policies.
Okay,
all right.
But I like that.
But do not bring signs that attack John Hickenlooper.
Now, well, let me ask. Now, hold on. Now, we got Ida Day from the Rocky Mountain Peace and Justice Center waiting. We got some other topics to talk about. But since we got you on, man, God bless you, Vern. I look up to you. You like a mentor to me, brother. And I want to ask you. So while we got a few seconds, can you at least tell us some of the events that's going on, the time of the Murray, where people are meeting, some events that are going on really quick?
Yes, sir. Tonight is the Humanitarian Awards. I love this event because we keep it free to the public. I have seen Phil Anschutz talk to a transient. Phil in his Brook Brothers suit and the transient living like
Can you
he is.
introduce me to Mr. Anschutz?
If he's there tonight.
All right.
Maybe you can become senator too.
And I have seen, and yet and still we cater this in. We have a wonderful caterer who's coming in. You eat for free. The concert is free. The awards are free. Corporate dollars. But we keep it free. Then we have the 80th birthday. If Dr. King had lived, he'd be 80 years old. And we're having we're having the Peace Breakfast over at the Tivoli. $7 for students, $14 for everyone else. That's on Friday morning, the 16th. We have the Social Business Responsibility Luncheon at 11 o'clock at the Marriott downtown. Again, that's $75 a person. We'll give away $86,000 in scholarships that day.
$86,000?
$86,000
Okay.
in scholarships.
Who sponsors that?
Corporations.
Okay.
And you don't have to mention their name.
I'm not. As you notice, I say corporations.
Yeah.
Then that evening, we are having Denise Graves, the #1 opera singer in the world, and she happens to be an African American, and to honor Dr. King's 80th birthday. Now, here's the kicker. We have tickets as low as $15.
You know something? Because of our nonprofit status here at KGNU,
Yes.
I don't think we can mention prices like that, but you're more than welcome to tell the people about the places to go. But Vern, man, I really appreciate you coming on the show today.
Absolutely, friend.
And even though we disagree about a few things, man, we've always been brothers, and I've always had an open line to come talk to you about whatever I needed to talk to you about. And we're going to be out there. KGNU is going to be at the Marade, and we're going to be passing out our information. We want you to stop by the booth and, enjoy yourself because, we're in a time of change,
Yes.
so-called change, and, we want to be a part of that in a positive way. So, Vern,
Give me your application, please, so we can make sure.
I'll make sure
Please.
the person that, I'm sure that the person that does that is listening right now, and she's hurrying to send that
And
to
Sharif,
you.
I support what you guys do as well. And you know what? We can disagree without being disagreeable. And that's what
Right on.
Dr. King kept saying. And I understand the trepidation that people have with corporate dollars, but I promise you, we do not set our policy based on corporate dollars. We set our policy, once again, insulting somebody. Their children are watching. Their parents are watching. Mrs. Bush, Herbert Bush, the mother of Barbara Bush, said that she hated late night comedy because they made her son look like an idiot. Well, guess what? To the rest of the world, he may be. But to her, that's her son. That's her son.
I wonder how she felt when she was standing in that arena in Texas and said that the black folks that got hit by the hurricane was in a better condition than they was in the ghetto. So, I mean, as far as offending Mrs. Bush, I don't know.
And then-
I'm not going to do it. But, I'm just saying she offended American people when she said that. But, I mean, we're not going to go tit for tat.
No, we
but
won't.
I love you, Vern, and thanks for coming into
Love
the
you
show.
much, and I thank you. Thank you, Terrence.
God
And
bless
guys,
you,
I'll
brother.
be glad to come on, and we can have this discussion when we have more time.
Right.
Because I promise you, like I said, don't insult. Don't call somebody a name. Insult their policy all you want, but don't insult the person. That's all we're saying. Don't bring signs that talk bad about people.
Hey, Vern, what we gonna do without you, man? You make sure and you got about 60 events where every time I see emails, call Vern Howard, call Vern, call Vern. You're doing a big thing, man, and God is good to you, Vern, man. So thank you for what you do, man.
It's actually God working through me, one, and we have wonderful people working with us.
Cool.
And believe it or not, we thank you guys. Thank you so much.
You.
All right. And we're going to take a short musical break. And when we come back, we're going to talk to Ida and Ron from the Rocky Mountain Peace and Justice Center. Robert, I know you're holding on. Please, if you can, hold on some more. I want to get your call in. We'll be right back at KGNU.
Right on, my brothers.
Cool. Well, that was history right there.
Guys, we're both on the
That was
same
history.
page.
Sharif Aleem and Vern Howard on the radio show talking about the
I'm
Murrays.
going to say this to you, and I mean this.
All right.
You guys get me, put it to you this way. We had one donation from the private sector from an individual last year, $25.
Just one donation. But do y'all ask, though? I got to ask. Do y'all ask for individual donations?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
And now let me share this with you. Other than what my wife and I come out of our pocket with, and I'm talking about 5, 6, and 7,000 a year to put on these events. That's what I come out of my own pocket with. I need the tax deduction. But my point is, before I was married, that's what I was coming out of pocket with. If I could get the community to put the money there, then I'll move out the corporations.
I can dig it, man. And like I said, I love you. I just, some of these corporations is terrible. But we gotta transition.
Hey.
So we gotta move quick now.
So, you gonna be there tonight?
I will be there. That's where I'm headed right now.
Yes, sir. All right.
Thanks, Vern.
Hey,
Thank
I'm
you.
gonna wear this version. So I'm gonna just let you know I'm gonna be out of uniform.
I got a board meeting up in Boulder.
No, you're not. And see, that's the beautiful thing about tonight's event. Come as you are.
Yeah.
And the symphony fought us for years on that. They couldn't understand that. But they found
93.7
that.
in Netherlands, and you can always dig us at kgnu.org. I'm Sharif Aleem.
I'm Terrence Roberts.
And you're listening to the Tuesday edition of Metro. Thanks again to Vern Howard for coming in from the MLK Parade. And now we're going to talk to Ida Ade and Ron Forthoffer. I hope I said that right.
Close enough.
Okay, right on. Hey, thanks for being on the Tuesday edition of Metro. We want to turn the discussion, man, to talk about the ongoing crisis in Gaza. For the last 2 weeks or more, there's been almost 1,000 Palestinians killed, 4,000 injured, about 13 Israelis killed in this conflict. Where does it stop?
It stops, I think, when the international community decides to implement international law and demand an immediate and unconditional ceasefire, as it should have done, and then use some muscle to enforce it. I think that has to be a first step. The ceasefire also should include an immediate end to this illegal blockade and siege of the Gaza Strip, which has been going on for more than a year, and which is completely unconscionable. It's had the result of really reducing the area to a state of destitution. And as many UN officials have been warning over the past few months, and if you listen to them, their appeals have been increasingly more urgent, that the whole area is on the brink of a humanitarian disaster. This was before Israel's bombardment. It was as a result of the siege. It's just taken a tremendous toll. What it's meant is that people just don't get enough food. They haven't been able to get medical supplies. Israel controls the fuel and electricity and has turned those taps off. It's just been brutal. So hospitals can't function, households can't function. This is what Israel promised when it said it was going to put the Palestinians, 1.5 million Palestinians in the Gaza Strip, on a diet.
Well,
that has to end. That's
the United Nations Relief and Works Agency actually said that that it is a humanitarian crisis. Now we're on the brink of one, so it's pretty bad. People are actually starting to starve to death, and malnutrition is starting to settle in with some of the children, and I mean, and like you said a comment just a few minutes ago, Ms. Ade, about the international community really forcing this ceasefire with Israel, who obviously right now is not listening to outside sources. Do you think that it will make it worse if there is a hardline ceasefire push from the international community, and if Israel does not abide by that? And what kind of force do you think should be taken?
I think Israel long ago should have been the subject of sanctions. It's violated international law, and it's thumbed its nose at the UN and at the Security Council. It's done this in a much bigger way than any other country that I can think of, including Saddam, the former dictator of Iraq. He never violated as much as Israel has done. It really should have been the subject of sanctions a long time ago. It's long overdue. Our government also has to stop coddling Israel. It's really shameful when the U.S. Congress can take the resolution that it did in the last few days, just patting Israel on the back. Not even, apart from rewarding this clear act of aggression, our own elected officials don't seem to care that Israel is in violation of U.S. arms export laws. They're using the weapons that the United States provides on a civilian population.
Like white phosphorus?
It's nothing else. Sorry?
Like white phosphorus?
Absolutely. Ron Forth-Offord. Did I say that right?
Yeah, well, that's good enough, Sharif.
Ron, I wanted to ask you something. Israel is saying that the reason why they have this harsh response is because over the last 8 years, the Palestinians has fired more than 6,000 rockets into southern Israel, and they say that their population live in fear, and they have 15 seconds to get into a bunker. And so they say the reason for these strikes is to hit Hamas and hit them hard so they don't fire any more rockets. What is your response to that?
Well, I think if Israel is really concerned about its citizens and wants to see the stop of the rockets, there's a very good way of doing this that has been shown to work, and that's the ceasefire that Egypt had coordinated between Israel and Hamas in this past June. On June 19th, the ceasefire went into effect, and Hamas saw to it that there were very few rockets that were fired, and then on November 4th, Israel broke the ceasefire, and it went in and attacked and killed 6 Palestinians. The rocket fire began again after that. So if Israel really wants to stop the firing of rockets and to protect its citizens, it needs to negotiate and to adhere to the ceasefire terms that were put forward in the past. One of the key terms, and Hamas has indicated that it was willing to see a reinstitutional of the ceasefire if Israel stopped attacking Gaza, and well as opening the borders, allowing the people of Gaza who have been terrorized for years and years, allowing them to be able to survive and to live a life that had the necessities for their lives. And Israel has refused to do that.
Israel claims that in November, Hamas refused to renew a ceasefire agreement that they kind of obviously had in place, and it was pretty shaky, of course, as we can see. What do you think about that? What do you think about their claims that Hamas refused to sign this peace agreement and continue to?
In December, the agreement ran out on December 19th, and Hamas said at that time that it would not continue it because Israel had not lived up to the terms. A couple days later, Hamas then said, okay, if Israel would live up to these terms, as I said, in terms of allowing goods and necessities to get into Gaza, allowing the fuel to get into Gaza to allow people to have power so that the sanitation systems could run, and Israel would stop the attacks, Hamas was willing to continue with the ceasefire. So the people who are saying that Hamas is the problem here have it backwards.
Yeah. Now, do you think that Israel was planning because they knew that Hamas was already saying that they would not renew the ceasefire? Do you think that Israel was planning these attacks as soon as they heard that? Do you think that this was more of an open door for Israel to do what they're doing now?
No, I don't think so, because Israel had been planning the attacks since June.
Yeah.
They were confident back in June that the ceasefire was going to run out, and they were not themselves going to renew it because they wanted to go in and attack and get rid of Hamas. So it's not just since Hamas initially said no to the ceasefire. It was back when the ceasefire was initially signed back in June.
Listen,
Israel began the planning for it.
I want to get this. I want to get this in real quick, and Ida, you can respond to this. President Bush has said that Israel has a right to defend herself, and he's basically given Israel a free hand to do what they're doing over there. What can the Obama administration do that is different?
The Obama administration can start, I think, by respecting international law, and that's something that the Bush administration was not known for, to put it mildly. It's not at all surprising that that President Bush would endorse the use of force and overwhelming force. This is something we took great pride in Iraq, and we've seen how we devastated that country. So that doesn't surprise me. Obama could also start, first of all, by respecting international law. Second, by not, I think, populating his cabinet with such hawks. It's really see the kinds of war hawks that he's gathering around himself.
Hey,
and one of them is Dennis Ross. This is someone who was in the Clinton administration. He was known as a hardliner then. Reports that surfaced after the breakdown of negotiations at Camp David demonstrated very clearly that American negotiators, including Dennis Ross and those around him, were pretty much acting as Israel's defense attorneys. It was like the Palestinians were dealing with two Israeli teams. Ross plays that role in the Clinton administration, leaves at the end of the Clinton administration, goes into a very right-wing pro-Israel lobby group, and now he's being drawn back into the Obama administration, and we're supposed to believe that he's somehow going to play a role that advocates for U.S. interests and not Israeli interests, and that's just ludicrous.
Well, let me say a comment, Daddy. Before we take a caller, we have Robert calling in, but I just want to say one thing. Barack Obama did say that he wants to adopt a new emphasis on respect and a new willingness on being willing to talk, and that was to Iran. But let's bring on Robert really quick because we got to get him on. He's been at home. Robert, you're on KGNU, Tuesday just in the Metro. You on?
Thank you very much. Well, I wanted to get to the heart of the moral issue in all of this, and whether it's in Israel or in Gaza or where it is in the world, killing innocent civilians is immoral. It's insensitive, and it's sad that our country has set this precedent, perhaps more than any other in the modern world, of being indifferent to civilian populations. I guess I want to say this maybe using the word war is what gives the excuse for that, but what it really comes down to is the pursuit of criminals. And we are hypocritical in this country because we would never pursue any kind of criminal or terrorist in this country the way we pursue them or allow others to pursue them in other countries, which is targeting homes and schools and churches and mosques and any target and being rather indifferent to the loss of civilian life. That is immoral. It is unjust. It's against international law, and we are hypocrites in this country for supporting that. Not to mention the pragmatic side, which is the cost of doing that is much higher than alternatives.
which is a humane pursuit of criminals, whatever it takes.
Hey, Robert, I think
it generates hate. It generates hate and revenge. That's all I have to say.
Right on, Robert, and thanks for making those good points. We only got a few seconds left. Ron, Ida, tell people what they can do to get involved in this issue.
You can go to the website of the U.S. campaign to end the Israeli occupation. The website is easy to remember, www.stoptheoccupation.org, and there are a number of actions you can take. You can call your congressional representatives and urge them to support the Kucinich resolution, which is a much better one than the one that recently passed.
Hey, thanks a lot, Ida. We're gonna have to leave it there right now. But you've been listening to Tuesday edition of Metro with Sharif Alim and Terrence Roberts.
Everybody calls him Terrence Howard.
I got that on my brain. I'm sorry. But
Nigga, go get your gap. Never hesitate to lay these pigs on their back. I said rat-a-tat-tat. Nigga, go get your gap. Never hesitate to lay these pigs on their back. I said rat-a-tat-tat. Nigga, go get your gap. Never hesitate to put these pigs on their back. I said rat-a-tat-tat. Nigga, go get your gap. Never hesitate to lay these pigs on their back.
They got us locked down in prison, yo. They don't feel you, though. What? They gotta let us go. What?
Go ahead.
Let us go. Got my brother on lockdown for 24 on life status. Y'all gotta let him out. We gotta get out and show him what we bout. What? Huh? I ain't no freestyle, but I'm talking about this shit and I ain't proud now. We got to raise up on their ass. Show them what? Show them.
Rat-a-tat-tat. Nigga, go get that gap. Never hesitate to lay these pigs on their back.
Up in the club, you see a real thug, and them hoes wanna come up and give me real big hugs, but I ain't no teddy bear. Cops, stop looking at me, cause I'm a picture camera, you can't catch me. I'm aiming at thee. I don't give a fuck me. It's